This is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, go to the Weird Renegade website. Of course, see the phone number there. And you could text me in reference to 101 lessons, monthly lessons, and of course, work. Understand monthly lessons are sometimes theme-based or individuals who want to work with me monthly. With various energies as whatever is going on with them and that they want to figure out, especially in the world of occultism. However, of course, one-on-one lessons, I work with every day, work with individuals either every day, however it may be, is almost like what I call a witchery concierge, okay? So, however, sometimes work is go hand in hand, but understand it doesn't go in the energies of 101, but it's a separate frequency that we work together. But also understand I work on various frequencies with individuals more than revenge and redemption and responsibility, because as we already know that art is occultism is an art, and art imitates life and life imitates art. However, as we already know, that wayward is about that revenge, redemption, and responsibility. I've been kind of peeping the world, and this video is very random, so it's going to be all over the place. As the world is all over the place, I was in discussion and asked people, did they notice that they played us on the daylight savings time? They started daylight savings time in the month of, I believe, March, okay? And I was wondering why the energies were off. The time seemed off across the board. It seemed manipulated. However, when Good Friday came, it shifted. All of a sudden, the time, it seemed like it was daylight a little quicker. Energy shifted. I said, well, this is spring right here. This is where, if you're going to have something called daylight savings time, this is the true time, right? So at that point, it was settled with me that they're up here playing cold games with us with time. And you know, I talk a lot about time and shifting. And if they're out here playing with time, I told you they've removed days, added days, taken time, added time, and moving energies where they shouldn't go, plain and simple. And they intentionally, and I say they, we can say the powers that be, but there's some motherfuckers behind this time. And they're using an entity and deity to try to play with us with time. And within it, if you fuck with our time, that causes us to have anxiety, imbalance, mental disorders, weight disorders, eating disorders. We are not mentally, we're mentally unstable. Okay, our bodies is going to the left, but the world is pushing us to the right. It causes us not to think. It causes us not to do the things we are supposed to do because we are imbalanced, and it's very much intentional. It causes, you know, food to be manipulated and so on. Okay, so we have to be careful because the spirit knows when things are supposed to grow. It knows when things change. It knows when things shift. It understands time. But in this frequency, the way they're pushing us backwards instead of forwards, okay? And I have just kind of been watching the world and the impoverished and the downfall of wealth, prosperity, and income. Is very demonic, and they've been working on this for so many years. It's almost as if they've been working on it for almost 100 years, but we've been seeing the slow decline of humans being prosperous in this world, okay, and very much intentional. I was listening to the stories of Las Vegas, and I've told you guys a couple videos ago how they're going to get rid of their housekeeping in MGM. They'll get rid of their housekeeping, concierge, and so on. So therefore, I was listening to a story in reference to how they're going to shift Las Vegas. I said to myself, I said, Las Vegas is broke as fuck. People don't go there to be broke. They go there to live a fantasy, and they are removing the fantasy. They're removing the illusion. They are removing the bright lights and the frequencies. They are removing the care, the hospitality. If people want to go to Las Vegas and live in subpar conditions, then that's their decision. But if they come there, and for example, the Cosmopolitan Hotel, they're cutting back energies there, had the audacity to say people are on their cell phones anyway. That's not all true. People don't go somewhere to get on their fucking cell phone to look for care, help, concierge, and so on. And I was just in discussion with someone. I said, hey, I said the first time I was at, that damn Cosmopolitan, it was pretty to shit. And then I said, then I went there again, and it was like below sea level. Something didn't seem right. It was the conditions wasn't right. And I'm saying more and more in the hotel, and you already know who's buying up the hotels, and I'm gonna keep it real lame, and them Indians are buying up these hotels, and they are subpar, and they come from poverty conditions, and we're gonna stop this fucking playing, because it's not racial, it's just economics. Okay, you got to look at the humans. And I was saying to them, I said, okay, Las Vegas went from the mafia and whosoever, then we got the Asians over there. And I know for sure, even though they changed from the lion to the dragons, I know for sure that Chinese are not broke back like that. And I just broke it down, and I said, Chinese people will dress, but they're into jewelry, expensive ass jewelry. So they about it. Okay, I said Koreans be dressed to the T, and I know the what's up with that. Japanese just wear what they wear because they just go with the flow, but they be having bank too. Vietnamese people do plastic surgery, so if they can't dress, bitch, they gonna have some titties done, they gonna have some face done. This goes with Thai people too. Okay. So we're gonna start. Filipinos, I was just telling them, I said Filipinos will sit up and combine 1,000 pieces of luxury. I said they'll wear some Gucci shoes with some Louis Vuitton pants, with a Chanel belt, with a Pucci hat, Ferragamo glasses. Okay? So I know it's not them. But all of a sudden, now the rollout is coming out. Now it's almost like the freaks come out at night. So I remember back in, I say 2020, before they went and shut down America, they had some kind of temple / altar, and at first I said it was over there near Caesars. I believe it was in front of the Bellagio. Okay, because I think it was next to Hell's Kitchen, and it isn't Hell's Kitchen, is anybody Vegas, it's between Bellagio and I think Caesars, right? So anyway, when I went over there and was looking, I noticed heck of Indians, and they was over there kind of kneeling, praying to this particular altar. But however, the altar was very triangular, and I was looking at the different energies of Asians that was sitting there, and I looked at, I said, this is not going to go well. This is an altar, and this is an altar in the middle of Las Vegas. Okay. And so as I started to go around in different parts of California, and I've talked about this in San Francisco, when the pandemic happened, they went over there in the Tenderloin section off an area and had a whole bunch of Indian energies over there where the homeless people were. And I said, this is not well. They have altars in places where there's poverty. Okay, and it was over there in the civic center near the Tenderloin. So I said, this is not cool. And I remember, I think I put it up, the recording of it. The other part is I start seeing temples all around, and all around Southern California. I seen the temples at SFO. I seen the temples everywhere, little configurations and statues. And then funny, now some of them you don't even see because they took them down because it did its job. Okay, so some people were saying over there in Vegas, hey, they have the Buddha. I said, yeah, it's cool and everything, they have the Buddha, but is it the real Buddha? Oh, so therefore they have created a slum mentality. Wasn't there a movie called Slumlords, Slum Dogs? I think this was back in the 90s. So we have to walk in the shoes of these people and go backwards into their country. I stayed in New York hotel, and they hired their whole motherfucking family and had them up in that hotel cooking, and you paying ducats. Fuck that shit. And that's what's happened. That's why they want to get rid of soaps and all of that. You go to a hotel and you pay for, accommodations and whatsoever, and they're getting rid of all of that because these are poverty-based motherfuckers. They're poverty. They're buying up luxury hotels and bringing them the fuck down. I have a spiritual constituent who went to London, said this was a very high-end, beautiful, Renaissance type of hotel, and the service was horrible. In addition to the aesthetics were not, being taken care of. So in reality, in this new type of energy, what is it in their deities that they keep pushing? And what is it at heart? They have their deity sitting up there. It's poverty. And nobody out here want to talk about the spell work. And they want to say, well, what you going to do with it? Well, let's talk about what the fuck to do. Because they have basically disintegrated any type of religion or anything, especially what black people do. That what they do is disregard it. But let's go down the random trail. Because the way I'm looking at shit, it's not good, because they have pushed us and pulled us into, as we say, the cyber world, social media cyber world. And it's funny, I remember with the spiritual constituents, we were talking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and what is it? Was it the woman in I forgot, is it the tiny woman, but Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It kind of reminds me of Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory, right? And the cowboy kid went and ate that shit and it minimalized him and put him in the TV. That's where we're at. We're not in the world. We are in cyber world. Okay, so basically, in the way of this universe, let's look at black people. You don't notice how they keep trying to bring us back to slavery? They keep trying to blanket us as slaves and Holocaust victims. That is because there's another group of motherfuckers that came in and studied. And what they keep trying to do is keep pulling us back in time, disenfranchising a community, keep breaking. And all of this is governmental. And the government is helping third world countries make money off of us. Everybody makes money off of black people. They don't make money off no Latinos. They don't make money. They make money off of us. If they could fuck us over, drug us, employ us, take away employment, disenfranchise neighborhood, miseducate our children, steal our organs, do all type of shit, they make money off of us. If they keep us in the fucking media to show how we are just misfits and immortal or infantile, we'll say, the bottom line is that they make money off of us. Okay? And we help them make money. We help them disenfranchise us. We help them with the spell work. I tell this sometimes with my clients. I say, if I'm doing work for you, then why are you helping the other people mount work on you? If I give you fucking directions to fucking do something, do the goddamn shit. But some of you guys are think, I'm a witch, they a witch, she's a witch. Hey, you're a witch. Is that shit right? So you think that I need help with my fucking work. So then what the fuck you do is like, well, I'm going to do some side shit over here. Well, bitch, you just sat up and helped them with their shit. And that's why you keep walking in your shit. Then I got to come back and correct your shit. And then it's all like, well, I didn't understand. I didn't know. Because that's that cyber slavery. That's social media. Social media makes people believe this. So right now they have created a new pseudo slavery, which is called cyber slavery. You are a slave in social media. They don't need to do shit on earth. You're a slave in social media. Black people then lock themselves in social media. So much so that you guys do some wacky ass shit. You don't even use it to create a business. It's like I see black people on social media cooking, doing cooking lessons. No, that should be your marketing concept. You don't get on there showing a breakdown of how to make a meal. You give a tidbit of marketing and bring them to you to have a school or a lesson or a cookbook. Catering. You don't get on there and by hand, this is how you chop this. That's not the way that works. When you look at cooking shows, they show just enough, and then you got to buy the cookbook. I see Emerald on social media, but Emerald then basically paid his dues. Then he could get on here. I seen the Yang can cook. I said, oh my God. He has some good plastic surgery. I said, how old is he? Is that man 200 years old? But he's paid his dues. You guys get out here on social media, show all your motherfucking shit. Some of y'all don't even believe I'm an occultist because I don't sit up here and say, okay, so you take this roach, you put it in a coffin, then you get a tarantula, you put it in a coffin, okay? Then you get a scorpion, you put that in a coffin, and then put a petition in there, and all them niggas are fighting. Matter of fact, add some red dust in it, bound it up, throw it in the cemetery. Matter of fact, don't do that. Put red dust in it with a touch of feces, bound it up, then put the coffin upside down. See, that's what y'all want. And some of y'all wondering, what kind of work is that right she talk about? You guys want them pineapple spells again. You want bippity boppity boo. What is real? And then what cracks me up in this occult energy is everybody doing the same fucking thing. From the YouTube witches, the Instagram witches, the TikTok witches, and the motherfuckers in the street. All y'all using fucking papayas and putting it in the park. All y'all putting water in glasses with plates on top and candles. All you guys have water. 9 glasses of water considered spirit or the 9 moons or planets. All you guys. Everybody wearing fucking elekes. Everybody got their hair right. Everybody talking. Everybody buying the new gadgets. So So you become a slave in cyber world. That's how people read into us, because we got on the plantation and start buck dancing, giving them energies. Social media is supposed to be a marketing concept. It's a commercial. What happened to Instagram models? Well, what happened to all that shit? You have a plantation, cyber plantation, a cyber slave energy. Then you have a prostitution going on. It's so much shit. And we're getting stuck. Right? The cyber world, I call it cyber Cornelius. You know, cyber magic, cyber witchcraft, cyber slavery, cyber law, cyber. They have been uprooting and lifting and stealing so many fucking crystals that it has dried out America and dried out the world. Our cell phones have dried out wealth, dried out the grass, dried out everything. I told you motherfuckers that crystal is kryptonite, but y'all was arguing me because you guys were copper hoes. Y'all was out here doing crystalline and copper hoeing and was offended when I said, black people, you not supposed to be fucking with these fucking crystals. You loving light niggas. Stones, different. From the earth. Get your own stone from the earth, where you're from. Y'all fucked around with crystals and helped the energies in Africa, whatever else is going on. However they get in this shit. Some of them crystals are fake as fuck. They're plastic and lead. I used to work at a marble and granite company. So I know what it is and how long it takes to really get that type of stuff. And crystals are not that easy to come by. So they start to develop fake ones. And once people start to have this strong interest for crystals, that's when the world, especially the United States, start to deteriorate, because you're not supposed to be pulling on earth like that. Some motherfuckers go dive in the ocean and pull different frequencies out, so it caused warming in places where it shouldn't be warm, and killed the fish. And then blame it on global warming and the ecosystem. Well, we fucked it up. Start to look at the trail. The shit they doing in Africa, pulling and pushing, pulling and pushing. Taking minerals, more and more and more. The islands, Haiti, all of that. Now they're pushing into the Middle East and some European countries, because on the simple fact that there are certain minerals that are there. And Paris right now is hailing like a motherfucker, right? Or it was hailing. Right now here in Southern California, the weather is whack as fuck, and it doesn't make sense, because they're trying to cause anxiety and depression. They want to give you just enough sun. There was no rain in April, if not barely. But here is May. Is this really April? We didn't set up and created a struggle life for ourselves, right? We're ass backwards. I had a spiritual constituents explain to me how gay bottoms are in a revolution They are no longer going to douche their booty holes. You're just going to have to stick your dick up in feces. And all I said was, well, women better be fucking careful. Because these Neptune niggas be out here with the shit and then come back to you. And you sucking on their dick. And in a minute and in the near future, it's going to be a new development. We're going to start having mutants develop and grow in our throats because we suck dick. And more you sucking dick and having ejaculation going down your throat and feces, it's going to grow a frequency. Anyway, in a minute, we're going to have mutants growing in our bodies and throats. The more that happens, and the more these men out here sticking their dicks up in asses raw, and you don't know what's up in them assholes. You got men constantly, especially these bottoms, having orgies and threesomes and whatever else in their sexual frequencies. Then your man go fuck them because they on some bullshit. It just gets worse. And then you go deal with them and you go have oral sex with your man. It's like a fucking sewer. Have you ever seen a sewer and the things that grow in the sewer? And it has a heartbeat? And then you got feces and all type of shit coming together? What you think is going to fucking happen? Then you have to wonder why you really have parasites in your fucking intestines. Things going to start growing in your belly. You're going to start having interesting things happen with your throat more and more. Your man, you don't, when I talked about the canal of the man, you don't know what's going on with that. And then next thing you know, it's in your intestines. Ass backwards ass shit, right? I was just telling someone, I said, I wouldn't be surprised. It's a new frequencies of throat cancers. A different strain, a different type of STDs. We so ass backwards. And I had to think to myself, how come more black people are not talking about the programming for real in the media? Tubi. But the thing that whooped me, I went on Netflix because I said, I want to look at Black Mirror. I want to see what's going on. I haven't seen it for a couple years. And the only reason why I looked at Black Mirror is because people kept talking about Issa Rae couldn't act. I got stuck on Netflix because I was looking at the Community. And somehow I bumped into a Tyler Perry show called The Beauty in Black. And I was stuck on it because it was unbelievable how trifling it is. I'm like, what the hell is this stripper shit? What's this stripper life? What is this atmosphere? Are they pulling stories from the 90s? Where is this shit coming from? The funky thing about it is that they pretended like it was done in Detroit, and you could clearly see it was Atlanta. And they were insinuating Indiana and gave us a touch. I'm like, what the fuck is this? That show or series is brutal. And I'm offended as a woman who fucking went to junior college, then took her ass to art school and had to suffer to go to school. And I don't like school. Why and what is it? And nobody is asking, is this whole programming of black women stripping, hustling, hoeing. On this show is some kind of co-ed a strip club that has men and women hoeing, this and that, murder, mayhem, stealing, mother ain't shit, da 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 da. Rich black family, but the family is gangster. The family is trifling. The family this. It's just crazy. I said that's a subculture. And what is scary is that myself and the spiritual constituent, she brought up to me what they call Gen Alphas. I said, what the fuck is that? I think I'm right. I said, I know about Gen Z, so what's a Gen Alpha? And then she said, that's the generation, the new. And they're confused. And they're confused because they believe men could be women and women could be men. Then I'm thinking to myself, that is fucked up, because you have a Gen Z energy within these alphas, and they're looking at black people as ain't shit. It's programming. And it's scary. And I'm sitting here looking at this movie, and at the end of it, what makes it so fucked up is the father, who's supposed to have been kind of the matriarch as they presented it, was dying, and he got connected with the stripper girl, saved her sister. The stripper girl friend went and got some butt injections by T.S. Madison. T.S. Madison was in the fucking shit beating up on a woman. And I'm confused. I said, well, was T.S. Madison supposed to be a woman in this, or a transsexual? Because we just sat up and watched a man beat up a whole woman in a wig. I'm like, what is this? What? So anyway, at the end of the movie, it was a Cinderella story that he ended up marrying. The rich man married this girl so he can take shit away from his family, because he hated his ex-wife so much that he hated her children. But then in the story, he goes to the club and he's pretending to like women, the father, but he like men. What the fuck does that say? He hates the fuck out of his ex-wife, who basically had his two sons, who most likely act like him. But as they say, the sons are the mother. So he hated her so much that he basically, in so many words, wrote them out the will and gave control to the stripper. He ended up marrying the stripper for giggles and laughs. And that's the fairy tale that you giving motherfuckers to these kids out here. I said, what the fuck was Tyler Perry thinking? Matter of fact, who wrote this? Who wrote this for him? Because I hear that he don't write his shit. Then I sit up as an occultist and I look at my client base, which are mostly black women. And I had to go down the line. All of my clients are college educated. Women, from bachelors to PhDs. One is working on her master's and the other one should be getting her master's like now. I have one who started school and about to transfer into university. So I'm confused. I have one that's in a bio world. I'm confused. So what in the ass backwards is going on? And some people will say, well, raunchiness sells. To whom? Where did this come from? Because it started to develop after the pandemic. I knew something was up when I seen Queen Afua in that video with FK Twigs. And I seen all the women dancing around Queen Afua, and then kind of towards the end, you seen FK Twigs with some strippers. I said, they're about to bring in something that's not copacetic. On these shows, where in the fuck are they getting these girls from? Where on the ranch? And some of them, I don't even think they're Black Americans. Some of them look like they're from Central America, the top of South America, some Caribbean. And we don't have questions with this ass backwardness. That's depression. That's trauma. That's trauma for us, especially as Black women, to keep looking at women being traumatized, beaten up, in a hustle, in a drug life. Girls from the hood don't even be doing all that. What shit is that? I think it's insulting. I think it's insulting on the hood. I think it's insulting on Black women, period, as a whole. And I'm confused on why Black women are not speaking on this shit. Who and what is that? I was telling somebody, I said, shit, when I was in high school, the girls from the hood was going to college. They said, fuck that shit. Even on good times, they fucking strive better. They want to get out. That's because there's an energy, there's an underlying that's poverty based that is financing this behavior. I talk a lot about Black men, but we don't talk about these other cultures of men who be on the gay tip. Indian men are gay as a motherfucker, and they love trans. And they love Black men, especially trans Black men or feminine looking Black men. Look like they're deities, huh? Go look at their culture. What type of work is being pushed out here? We already know the Chinese and shit are freak nasties because they be up in them orgy places. And we already know who's top of the food chart. And you know it's white people, right? So what type of cyber spell work is this? How are these conditions okay? We're only talking among ourselves. I'm a little confused on why we are not having podcasts about this. If we want to have one. Instead of having Black men get on podcasts, talk about relationships, which they have no clue about no fucking relationship. Why don't we start from somewhere? On some real shit. We have whole social medias talk about bottoms, gay. Go back to that show that I'm talking about, Beauty in Black. The father was gay and one of his sons were gay. I'm like, what the fuck? I was talking to a black sister and I asked her, I said, let me ask you something. I said, back in my day, you could literally walk out a door and go fuck a nigga. I'm being real. And if that does well, you can fuck another nigga. You can fuck 2 niggas and 3 niggas in one day. I'm just being real. And I asked her, I said, can you do that? Can you go out right now and go find yourself a black man and he be with the shit and whatever else? And she was like, no. And I said, and that's why y'all depressed. That's why they're creating a media with black women being lesbians. I'm not hearing enough about the solution. It's like the podcasts are part of the bullshit. Nobody asking questions. What the fuck is going on? This shit is normal. Nobody tripping like, where in the fuck did all these gay people come from? Men and women. Where the fuck did all these trans come from? And then for people to say it's always been there. No, Especially in the black community, I don't give a fuck. And we need to stop playing games, and we need to start admitting this shit don't look right. Even you got gay people saying this shit don't look right. It's almost as if all the gay people, trans people who died in the fucking 80s, late 70s and 90s were waiting in purgatory and said, we died of AIDS. And we want to come back. Here we are. We don't know where these people came from. All I know is it seems like they are part of some deities. It just seems like there's something that's been brewing in the back, and it hit us after the pandemic. And it was brewing all along during the pandemic. Like, what the fucks? I had somebody in my comments with the audacity to say, I guess my video was low vibrational. And I said, oh, that's backwards. I'm getting pulled back into an era? Well, good. But let's talk about that. Because when I seen that low vibrational bullshit, I said, these probably the same niggas that believe in polyamorous and collecting food stamps and welfare and having payees to build up their household. Yeah, you heard me, polyamorous. When you see that one nigga with all them goddamn bitches, you better ask fucking questions. You better ask who's on welfare, who's collecting food stamps, who's working, who's on fucking SSI, and that nigga's the payee. Get a couple of them bitches, you will have a good amount of money as a payee. Get one pregnant, get 2 pregnant, welfare. And have a couple of them working. Then have them basically invest back in the household, and then he gets a mediocre job. Low vibrational. Y'all still on that? I found stuff very interesting. And I found it very interesting because a lot of that low vibrational shit, we're not putting it in its right place, which is scientific. Frequencies, velocity, vibrations. High high vibrations, low vibrations. Up so high, down so low. Earth and water, that's low vibrations. High vibrations, air and fire. It has nothing to do with the frequency of an individual. You motherfuckers don't even know that you're under CIA psychological warfare. And some people will believe that, what's her name, Helena Blavatsky, a Russian Jew, was the mother of love and light energy. Okay? In addition to this biracial, but he actually looked Indian to me, Pascal Randolph. But let's talk about this Helena who traveled Asia, who lived in these countries in Tibet during the 19th century, who wrote a book called The Secret Doctrine that basically Hitler used. When you look at this woman, Helena, she looked just like Aleister Crowley. I said, is this bitch Aleister Crowley? Last name spelled Blavatsky. And when you study the frequencies of her, you find out she was a white supremacist. She was going around studying Asian frequency to uproot and uplift her people, the Aryan nation. And these different communities used her book and her works. That's why that shit is in fucking psychology. And they out here talking about this energy, this Asian energy is the master energy of spirituality. But spirituality and consciousness, that is. That means they are combining consciousness with spirituality, which leads to Hotep conscious community. You got to understand where these people are pulling from, which falls under the love and light energy. But then the CIA come in with their psychologists and say you're working in low vibration because you're in your emotions and you have anxiety and paranoia. You're negative in your life and you're speaking in negativity and you're becoming angry with certain things. So that causes you to have a psychological issue. Therefore, you're working in your low vibration. So therefore, if I'm speaking in a certain tone and I'm coming across a certain way in my videos and I'm motherfucking oh, that bitch is low vibrational. But high vibrational is affirmational, sitting in the sun, talking in love and crystals and this and that, pulling in deities. But in reality, that's low vibration, because when you put out your emotions, your feelings, and your frequencies, and your anger, you are vibrating in the universe. You're releasing in the universe. And first of all, it is also connected of the level of where you're born and where you head and where you go in it. You got niggas out here talking about your plate is low vibrational. The fuck you talking about? Are them scams low vibrational? People out here getting caught up in shit but don't even understand the full picture and how the conscious community and Hotep community led you under a frequency of white supremacy all along. Because they follow they follow the frequencies of this, the principles. We have been under this Hindu Indian shit for years and didn't even fucking know it. Because this is a form of psychology. And for them to believe that this Asian energy is the master spirituality is diabolical. Because they stole it from the melanated people, the black people, the indigenous people, the copper people, The scarlet people. If you want to call yourself a motherfucking Moor, I'm working in low vibrations. You don't even know what the fuck it is. We're under a Ukrainian religion. She pulled from one and created another, and the conscious community created this, pulled us in it, and now we're under it. But then we didn't even realize that that whole Illuminati energy, even I'm learning it, comes from Ephesians. Especially Ephesians 6:2. Verse 2. That's the Illuminati. And we didn't even realize that the Freemasons, the Shriners, the Moors, whatever you want to call it, the Masons have been infiltrated. These current motherfuckers that they call Masons are basically imposters, because the real practice of it is not what they practice right now, and how they rolling out shit and the supposed evilness of it. For real. And as you start to study the Freemasons energy, you will start to understand that what these motherfuckers did was stole the religion. Freemasonry stole the religion and fucked it up. As with the Kemetic energies, how the Egyptians stole from the Jews and recreated their own shit. Stole their stuff and then monopolized on it. That's the same thing. When you go back in time and they show you George Washington, up until I think the early 1800s, those were all black people. I started to think and look at George Washington again. Some motherfuckers say, well, that was a wig. No, that was in that era. We're going to say colonial, whatever. In that era, they had black people disguising themselves. And I told you guys I seen it in a painting. And what I mean by black people, I mean indigenous people of America pretending to be white and giving these beings that I don't know what they are status in the native world or indigenous world. That's above y'all pay grade. That's above y'all fucking pay grade. Being a Freemason was a religion. And it was kidnapped and stolen, and it's imposters in it that changed the frequencies of understanding and the morality and the foundation. Because again, in psychology, it says Hinduism is a New Age religion. In the Freemasons, it says stay away from them because they cause damage. If you want to understand her philosophies, then you start to connect the dots. These black people don't know what they're doing. They are Ponzi scams. All them conscious niggas are Ponzi scams. And they under the CIA. Then you're wondering why we have all these fucked up ass shows and movies that have uprooted themselves. And it's getting worse. And then you have a new type of financing to continuously put us in a state of mind of we are experimental, we are researched, we are hunted. They won't ever leave us alone. And furthermore, they need to replenish us because they keep killing American blacks and murdering us and neutralizing us, so they keep replenishing us. We were here first as an American. They replenished us with different Caribbeans, and they come in here. They didn't kill their asses too. Now they need to replenish them again. God damn. Maybe you have to readjust yourself. When, again, I go back to the reparations and the scamola that was going on with that. Maybe there's something with, they need you to have the supposed African gene. Meanwhile, you niggas out here talking about karma, chakras, low vibrations, and you don't even have a clue of the frequencies. And even with that energies of vibrations, you have to look at how they structured the eras. You have the flapper era, where, no matter of fact, you go back to vibrations when you're studying the supposed of Indian culture, then you get into science. Then after that, you will go knock ourselves down into the flapper era. And they use the word talking, they'll go up to the woman and say, hey, you have a vibe. Then you go back down into the 50s where you have the beatniks and the what is it? I have to think about it. But you have the beatniks that were always talking about, because they're very indie, would talk about the vibrations. Hey, you got a vibe to you. Hey, that vibe is good. That. Then after that, rockabilly. When you get into the rockabilly energy, they talked about vibes. They talk to each other. Then you go down into the 60s, the late 60s, then you got the Black Power movement that talked about vibes. Then you get into that, then you start getting into the consciousness, the conscious community, the cult-like Black Power energy. Then you get into the 70s, especially black exploitation. It was brought in again. Okay. Then after that, it dropped into the 90s. Then you had the conscious community on strong. Then you were conscious. Then you start making music about it. Then it dropped back down into the late 90s. Then that's when you got Erykah Badu. Then it dropped into the millennium. Then you have neo soul, and it hasn't left since. Then we drop into this era where you got the nature boy effect. So we have to understand the science and the principles. So going forward, if somebody say, I'm working in low vibration, cool. At least I get shit done. Because in talking about this, we don't even understand the world. A white-collared witchcraft. White people are sleeper cells. And they talked about this, then it went away. They were talking about how white men did not want to pay for college for their kids, so they intentionally will go and date a woman of melanated energy to get scholarships and financial aid. Because they were talking about how a lot of them was dating black women and Asian women, that when their kids go off to school, they would send their kids off to black colleges or get or what they call minority scholarships. See, we forgot about that part, didn't we? The sleeper cell. Biracials, and I'm not being rude or disrespectful, in some cases can be sleeper cells, especially for white men, and financial energies. This is just a subculture. I'm not talking about all, so don't get, oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about this right here that we forgot. See, we forgot that somewhere around 2005, between 2007, they were talking about white men intentionally and finding out the sleeper cells. And they even admitted, yeah, I married this one because I didn't want to pay for college. However, it's happening again. And it's happening with Indians. We up here thinking, they're just white kids. But we don't realize that somebody mama, somebody daddy is Indian. And these kids are going to colleges, getting scholarships and getting minority scholarships because their parent is Indian. Because the Indian is considered a minority. Everybody else benefits off the backs of blacks, but we don't benefit. Scholarship grants, federal grants. Everybody that protests against us, talk about affirmative action, have basically benefited off of our melanin. The Chinese, the Mexicans, the Indians, all. From affirmative action, that fake ass DEI shit, from equal opportunity employment and education, and now scholarships. You better watch the sleeper cells. And the funny thing is that we sleeping on Jewish people because they are considered ethnic. They are considered not white. So technically, Jewish people can send their kids to school under a minority scholarship. Your German Jews, your Russian Jews, Ukrainian Jews, yes, can go to school under minority scholarships. You sleeping on Ukrainians? Check out their background. They can go in and say they're a fucking minority, bitch. You talking about do some research, do your own fucking shit. Google fucking fairies. And so anyway, in Louisiana, there's this high school, I think it's Amy, and I'm pronouncing it wrong, so excuse me, but I think it's Amy, in the city of Amy, or something like that in Louisiana. So Amy High School, I guess a week or so ago, had a function going on for the college students who were playing football, and they were giving them scholarships, I guess, or whatever. However, they gave the black kids a junior college 2-year scholarship when they gave this white boy an LSU one for 4 years. So that is a loophole. That is called racial loopholing. So they're fucking with the educational system. You have the supposed, and I am not going to say Trump, but I'm going to say whoever that is in DC is trying to fuck with financial aid because they're trying to basically cause a disadvantage and miseducation of black students and black people. Because here's the funky thing, by not giving black kids 4-year scholarships. Junior college is cool in the game, but you better not fuck up in it. You better do good all the way through. If you giving them a scholarship for football for junior college, they would have to make sure their grades are up to par to transfer to a university. And even then, they would have to try to apply for another scholarship and get some kind of financial aid. But if they're up there trying to create these stipulations for financial aid and racial loopholes, that can be a problem, especially if their grades are not up to par. And sometimes starting off at a junior college can be advantage or disadvantage. I always suggest while you're in junior college that you apply and just go on and transfer. I remember when I was at City College, I wish I would have done the same thing, because the girl that I graduated with, she was telling me that, she said, yeah, you know, I'm graduating from here, and then tomorrow I'm going to graduate from San Francisco State. I said, oh, she said, yeah, I did at the same time. The other thing is, Black people, and what I'm learning is, if your child, say you in a certain city, right? That's a little bit competitive as for universities. What you do is have your child go to a different junior college. See, we among mixed people, but I need y'all to understand this, because you know we are among mixed crowds. Okay? The Indians and the Asians will take their kids out of the competitive junior college neighborhoods, put them in a disadvantaged neighborhood. So let me give you a great example. If you're in Orange County, they have, I'm just saying, Santa Ana, and say they have Irvine. Irvine's supposed to have some of the best schools. So you go to, what's it, ICU in Irvine. Well, bitch, that's a competitive school, because you have heck of people trying to get into Harvard, UCLA, and all these other academic schools. However, instead of doing that, you take your child out of Irvine IVC and put them in Santa Ana. Then it's less competitive, then they're looked at, and there's a spotlight on them. And the thing about it is, in this instance, in this racial loophole of education, we used to have the Negro College Fund. They took away the Negro College Fund, I don't know where that is, and gave it to the Latinos. So that means Black people, we need to come back and donate, adopt a child, do GoFundMes, whatever we got to do. Create a different, I guess, organization. Black Lives Matter was nothing but some motherfucking ops for governmental energies to make Black people look bad. I don't even know where them motherfuckers came from, because they houses burnt down in fucking Los Angeles. That's what needs to happen here, because they're fucking with our education for a reason. They're trying to eliminate us in the world of technology. And somebody who was part of the blind item was talking about that, but maybe he had to word it in a different way of what was coming. Because what it is that they have created, again, a cyber slavery again, but it's real slick. You have the plantation owners on Earth and niggas in fucking cyber world. So before it was, don't teach them niggas how to read, don't educate them. But the gag is that we already knew how to read. The gag is that because we come from different parts of the world, we couldn't read certain things because we have our own language. That's the gag. So it's not, so Black people are not ignorant or illiterate. We just have so many cultures within us. It wasn't just one. So they've created a plantation on Earth as you're enslaved in cyber and locked you in cyber world. So they're going to fuck with federal funding and finances, and then pay these schools, high schools, elementaries and junior highs to cost to put your Black kids in a fucking disadvantage, and take scholarships and do ethnic loopholes and put them at a disadvantage to not to go to school. And then break the pockets of Black colleges. And then discriminate at Ivy League colleges. Because they don't want you to know that there are people fucking studying your Black ass. They don't want you to know in the laboratories, you're going to see a certain ethnic individuals studying you. The Chinese are studying the fuck out of us, and that's why they're coming to us saying, come to us. We know you. You have Indians practicing on your fucking organs. You have, I call it neuro-tampering, temple tampering with your brain. They're fucking with your health. They're just studying the fuck out of you. In a way, they're studying the United States, period. I was looking at Black Mirror, and I seen this episode that was very troubling. And it was troubling, and this is the one with Tracy Ellis Ross. And basically, it's The Walking Dead. And just to kind of be real quick about it, on this episode, it was a husband and wife. The wife was a teacher. The husband was blue collar. His wife falls out, passes out. They said it didn't look good because it was a neurological issue. Something was going on with her. So they put her in some kind of testing energy. So anyway, they said they can help her live. And in so many words, it was so convoluted that I said, this is not fucking far-fetched. But I realized they cannot read our thoughts. The whole thing through the Black Mirror is reading people's thoughts. But you can't. But what you can do is read emotions. And they're trying their damnedest. So anyway, in this movie on Black Mirror, they took a scan of his wife's brain, seeing the damaged tissue. What she said was, in so many words, they will cut around the damaged tissue, replace it with synthetic tissue, which includes some kind of chipping, and they would have towers in different places, and she can't go back. She can't go past the towers. And what happens is that they supposedly can download her brain energy. Right? Let me see here. Because I wrote it down. I was like, damn. Yeah, I call it neuro-stimulation. So basically, from the brain they download, they have a tower that has a signal, 5G, 6G coming. So basically, they download it, it goes, so the data goes to a motherboard, like a transmitter, a server. Once the surgery is done, then they basically input the information, goes through the signal into the brain again of this individual. The interesting thing is during the show, the woman went to school because she just popped up. She alive again, right? She went to school. She started talking like a fucking commercial. To find out it's a fucking subscription, like a Hulu, internet. Then they upgraded the subscription so it would stop the commercials. Then you had to upgrade for a feeling. So much so that at the end, her own husband had to kill her because they couldn't afford it anymore. They couldn't even make payment arrangements. It was almost the man was like trying to make payment arrangements. And then at some parts, if you went past and they didn't have the towers there, she would die. And she had to turn around. Then they even had a gift card and shit. So then they expanded their services where she could kind of move around some more so she wouldn't die. Do you know, this made me think about the LA fires and how so much environmental destruction and earthquakes and flooding is happening, and they wiping out towns and cities. I said, we're going to have The Walking Dead. Chip them. What? Is that why they did that to Altadena? Is this where we're going? They try. It's like Black Mirror is telling you the society. I was looking at this other one where the insurance people will come to you and put this Neuralink gadget, a temple blaster, onto your temple to read your thoughts, and if for insurance purposes. So if there's a car accident and you are a witness to it, instead of you saying, you know, I seen this, I seen that, they'll just come to you and put this temple blaster on your fucking temple. I said, isn't that the pituitary gland, or am I wrong up here? Because your temples are very simple. It's like a form of lobotomy, temple lobotomy. They want to read your thoughts so bad, spirit and consciousness. Then I looked at that energy with Issa Rae. I said, this is demonic. This is why people are losing their jobs in studios, because they're in a fucking transmitter room with fucking computer shit, making movies and using the likes of people. And they're trying, and they think they can redo a spirit and then bring the likes of someone. They don't want the face, they want the body. And they could have it's all, so they're making, it's data. How your kids going to be ready for this? How your kids going to be ready if they're up here playing games with the educational system? You can't even find a job without them trying to scan your fucking resume through AI to see, is it equipped? They're out here making AI resumes. They want you to put your resume through an AI system and fish it out. They want you to pay for a subscription. They up here firing motherfuckers, and boomers and Gen X and Gen Zs aren't ready. And millennials, you're not ready. They're not getting us ready. This is why they're trying to miseducate us. Because they're going to hire autistics. If they're up here fucking around with a fucking what is it? A resume that's done by AI, submit that through AI, and it's a computer talking to a computer, or a system talking to a system, then where is the human? So they're automatically going to hire autistics, because in some cases, autistics are bland. They have a certain personality type. They're awkward at times, or hypersensitive. They need a bottle. They need, what's the sucking things? A pacifier. I'm not being rude. I'm being real as fuck. So you telling me I go work for a job, and if I get on my fucking job, my fucking boss nerves, that nigga gonna get to stimming? What the fuck fuck is wrong here? Oh, what the fuck is going on here? He acted like Elon. You wonder why some of y'all getting fired? Shit. Are they hiring them? And then you have to accommodate. You have trade schools who's fucking getting frustrated because they're bringing in certain energies from third world people. They say they're getting a lot of Indians, I'm going to keep it real, a lot of trans who have attitude problems, and a whole bunch of autistics. That's on the same lines as ADHD or the behavioral problem, and teachers had to quit. So we done went from behavioral problems to autism. Then they tried to call people with dyslexia autistic, but that's not what that is. Everything is data. Most likely in Hollywood, they didn't set up and hired a whole bunch of autistics who can only deal with data and AI. They don't want to have human companionship or human energies. They want to sit in a room and fuck around with data because they asses are going to start stimming. Y'all think I'm crazy? Okay. This is what you're up against. You're going to be angry as a motherfucker. Or you as a manager, you up there trying to talk to your employee, you not realizing that your employee is fucking autistic. And you get caught up in a lawsuit. And there has to be air maritime laws. I don't want to hear shit from you Google fairs trying to explain to me the difference between maritime and earth. Because air is water. So it should be a maritime law. There should be a cyber law for discrimination, an employment, a cyber law. There should be an AI. There are new laws that need to come. There also need to be new laws and energies for towers and electric things and vehicles. Because there's no law. That's why they could get away with that. They can make up anything in cyber world. Because it's in the air. So they can discriminate against you, put your shit through AI and have two computers talking to each other. Then these people are hired on the job and they autistic because a computer picked them. They don't like human interaction like that. Or they get overly stimulated. Makes you wonder about that RFK database. A spiritual constituent was just telling me in Philadelphia, she was hearing something in the news that they're going to start hiring more autistic people in the workplace. White-collared witchcraft is dismantling the world and restructuring it. I call autistic people Mercury. Y'all not ready. But people working, I guess, in low vibrations. We having energies out here where Jim Jones, the occult person, uprooted itself. He uprooted himself because somebody was telling me about an interview that was done with a woman. And the interviewer was rude and was because she was sexually assaulted as a child. And he was unprofessional and was asking her about the sexual frequencies, the organs, the body parts of the person who molested her. I said, what the fuck? I said, what's going on here? I said, that's perversion. Why are these people giving so many details into these assaults? But then to find out the person who is interviewing this young lady, he was assaulted and said that his mama sold him to Jim Jones because his mother used to date Jim Jones, the occult mother for the occult person, over there who at the church and shit. This is the cult person, Jim Jones. So anyway, his mama used to date Jim Jones. She sold him to Jim Jones. And they start having a conversation. And what I get out of it is that she sold him to Jim Jones because she needed money. Meaning she wasn't on drugs, nothing like that. She was in poverty. So we don't talk about poverty sexual assault. So I said, well, shit, that's a whole other subculture by itself that I didn't even really truly understand. Like, we have this picture of this mother, and we see it a lot with white women, black women that will go marry a man and can go give their kids away. But nobody talks about the mother who's a single mom, who have children or who need money, who will go sell her child to someone due to poverty or due to needing some money. And that's exactly what happened. I said, well, damn, that is boomers, Gen X, and some millennials. I know a millennial, not telling this, but I know a millennial who was in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and her mother tried to sell her to the pastor. And I told her, I said, it was nothing but the blood that covered you, that man didn't do nothing to you. Yes. Selling your kids because of poverty and needing money for the bills. You go give your child, your son or daughter away so you could pay the light bill. And they bring them back. And the way that is presented, like, oh, that's just normal. It's no big deal. I mean, what you gonna do? I mean, people need to eat. So your kid go out and do what they do. And then they come back. What? I interviewed other people and they're like, what? It's normal. Yeah. Okay. My mother needed to pay rent. And yeah. Oh, God damn. Not on drugs, nothing. Because then we went into Jim Jones. And the children who were given to principalities for sex. Some of these people are in the fucking White House. Some of these people are in your face every day. See, they just want to make like that whole Jim Jones energy was just one cult. I told you there was drugs involved, but at the other part of it with the children, they're not telling you the assault and sexual frequencies that was going on too, especially with the principalities. And he's just one of 1,000 children that this happened to. But we don't talk about this in the Black community. They want to talk about all this other shit, but let's really get down to the root of the Black woman and the children. The Black woman and their boys. It was some of them. I said, whoa. Right? And the funky thing is this. That's what I'm talking about when it comes up to us in poverty and poverty living. They're creating all these movies, but let's talk about, well, what may have got that person? What is it? What's the energy? This is a whole energy by itself. Because we're also the downfall of we're going to say America, but of Black people is America intentionally financing people and strategizing them in neighborhoods that are disadvantaged to cause harm. Because in that same city, Amy, Louisiana, they were talking about different liquor stores that are owned, I'm assuming, by Asians Indians and others that are non-black that are hosting an opiate party. With the opiate party, if they are black, the Asians are not inviting the black people to the party, but the white people can enter into the party and drink some alcohol and bring it out to the black person. So the story that I heard, this is one story that I heard, is the white boys and black people usually buy their party favors from the Middle Easterns, the Arabs, but they owed them money. So they went somewhere else to a different party and bought some different party favors, which caused diabetes and organ organ issues. So the Arab Middle Easterns said the reason why that happened to the black man is because in their party favor, heroin, opiate, they put sweeteners and fentanyl in it. And I said, no wonder they don't want black people to go to school to be chemists, because that's nothing but a chemist. And I'm like, well, there's different types of heroin. And they've always been in that world. Chinese people be on big time drugs, as well as Jews. Jews be on heroin too, you know. The Taiwanese, man, they always ODing. We're gonna say allegedly, but I said, so his spinal cord is fucked up due to that heroin. So then he ended up becoming a diabetic. And I said, well, you know, back in the day with crack, they would put, you know, sugars and saccharides in it and lactates, especially in cocaine. That's why you find a lot of, especially black people, getting diabetes. So if this is happening, so it is so, in the future, it's going to be a diabetic pandemic, not necessarily from Ozempic, but from the drugs they've been giving out. But here's the ass kicker, what the person pointed out. They were saying that LSU, I guess, have a hospital. And they said instead of taking them to the local hospital, they keep taking the people who OD to LSU. I said, oh, what the fuck is LSU? Wait a minute, what? I said, so it's another Cedars-Sinai. And it was so, because we'd have talked about high blood pressure. And I said, it's very interesting to me how a lot of black people have high blood pressure, and also Filipinos. And I learned from a Filipino, especially about how kidney failure could happen. And she was telling me that her mom is a diabetic. Filipinos be diabetics like motherfuckers. And she said she's on that diabetes medicine, but she said, but the high blood pressure medicine killed the kidneys. I said, damn. I said, so when black people take high blood pressure medicine, either their hair fall out, it kills the kidneys, or they go crazy in the mind. Because, you know, some high blood pressure medicine somehow causes black people to have a mental breakdown and go crazy. Not allegedly, but it is the truth. But I'll say allegedly, but it is true. Time and time again, they go crazy. They start having anxiety, nervous breakdowns, mental disorders, bipolar, anger. They start to see things that aren't there, that's not true. People doing shit to them. They can go so crazy. So that came up during the energies, right? And I say, damn, wouldn't that be a cold study? They OD and you could bring them back alive through what I was talking about in Black Mirror, chip them. How do you know that's not going on already? There's so many fucking tests going on, right? but we are working in low vibrations. I was having a conversation with my spiritual constituents, and I was saying to her, you know, I've been on this death shit in purgatory. Remember, first house is heaven, the second house is earth, and the third house is purgatory. And I was saying to her, hey, I said, I remember in the late 90s, I almost got into a car accident. And I said, but how do I know I didn't die in the car accident? I said, all I remember was we was going to Daly City. We was on the highway. A mattress was on the highway. My cousin swerved because I was in the car with my cousin, my other cousin, and her 2 kids. The car rolled on. All of a sudden, the car almost flipped on one side. I'm on the passenger side of it, ready to hit the highway. And all I seen was my life pass me. And then it blanked out. And next thing I know, she got the car back on all fours. How do I know I did not walk in the dark and didn't want to leave the earth yet and say, I'm coming back into the light? And then I ended back up in hell. We're just talking, right? And I had this conversation with my spiritual constituents. I said, you got in a car accident. She said, yeah. She fell out the window and everything. It's like car accident, and she on the highway. And she said she opened up her eyes and she seen like what she's seen, and she thought she was dead, and she accepted it. And she said she woke back up, I'm paraphrasing, and she's like, damn, I'm not dead. No, you're not. Because you didn't walk back into the light. We got the Holy Ghost and the Holy Spirit, which are 2 different energies. Cremation and burial is different. You kind of got to be scared of embalming fluid and burying people. People can come back. You're just. Do you know in reality? Let me flip it. Don't people who are buried, do you know they can rise back up again? Makes you think about that Louisiana Katrina Six Flags shit they was talking about with embalming fluid, and they were talking about allegedly people were stored, and they was talking about some of these mortuaries embalming, trying to have people come up again, right? Allegedly. Did you see that shit with Trump and the alleged martial law that he wants to harass people in black neighborhoods? Talk about martial law. No, you just testing bullshit. You done sat up and taught some probably third world motherfuckers or those border coyotes who immigrated here in America, hid them somewhere, and then now they're military. And then you gonna put them in black neighborhoods? And then the black people gonna find out that those are not American people. Matter of fact, why are you harassing black people? Matter of fact, is this old? Because he talked about that shit during the pandemic. This is the shit. Talking about low vibration. This is the shit. Why are we not talking about this? It's like they just get in the way talking about any damn thing. Right? Beyonce. The Beyonce effect. Do you understand in reality Beyonce is a whole case study? And I'm going to start studying her. I'm going to start studying how they used her to be a pinnacle in the black community of motherless children. Beyonce is a mom to motherless children. When I go back to certain eras, we've always had these type of women. And I thought about Madonna, right? And I thought about the ballroom scene and whatever. But we only didn't have Madonna. We had so many other people that we just didn't get stuck on her, right? Then I started to think about Michael Jackson, the Michael Jackson and Elvis phenomenon. And I said they studied Michael Jackson and the Elvis phenomenon on the simple fact they wanted to create the next best star. Madonna didn't even have the same energy of these current gay boys. See, Madonna had a different energy of gay boys. These new gay boys are vicious, wicked, and bitch ass. They're different. They come from a different cup. Madonna came in an energy of fun, expressionism. You can express yourself and all this stuff, right? So therefore, Beyonce is a whole study because these gay boys think they her and they are motherless children. When she got on stage and she was like Mama T, she became the grandmama to all the motherfuckers. So they all in this house. They're all family. Ivy is their sister. Rumi is their sister. Tina Knowles is their mother. Beyonce is their sister, mother, and auntie. They just created a family with this Beyonce phenomenon. They just told us that black men don't have mothers and that they hungry for mama. I don't care what they saying. I don't like no fish. They want their mama. I looked at the trail when she was Destiny Child. She catered to women's energy. When she came out with her first album, she catered to women's energy. Then she flipped it and went into ballroom. I was talking about that song. What's that song? Girls Run the World. That song right there was a cold game and a cold piece of fraud. Because to understand within that culture, when she was talking about girls, she was talking about men. She wasn't talking, because I said, oh shit. And it took a couple of men to really kind of, I had to shake my brain. I'm like, oh. Because then when you go and listen to her songs, it was never about women. It was about the ballroom scene. So then you start to look at all these energies with the ballroom scene, right? The Met Gala was nothing but the ballroom scene. That dandy ass shit that they presented was whack as fuck because they went all over the place. Some of these people, I don't know what the fuck was going on with A$AP Rocky, and he had them baby hairs going. There's a couple of people that I like because I like art, right? And it was this guy, I can't even see his name. Let me see. Cole Escola. I liked him. I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I liked Jodie Turner. I even like, what's her name? Chapel Roan. I don't know what the fuck Tiana Taylor was doing. And it was brought to my attention. She was like, is she barren? I said, yeah, she looked like Eligba. Eligba. I said, matter of fact, are we in freaking, I was tripping for a moment because I was like, what the fuck? Are we in Willy Wonka? I felt like I was in Dinah Ross. She reminded me of Obatala. And reason why I said Obatala, because she looked like the never-ending motherfucking story, that damn goddamn dragon flying in the goddamn air. And I don't understand what the fuck that had to do with Dandy. I got caught up in Alice in Wonderland. I got caught up in Tiana the Frog. I got caught up in Ifa, Santeria, whatever. I got caught up in Orishas. I said, this shit ain't got no goddamn nothing to do with no damn Dandy. And I was insulted, and I don't want anybody to get on here telling me a fucking thing. I graduated from fashion school, and I have two spiritual constituents. One fashion school in London, other one in Philadelphia. So when I'm looking, I researched this shit. And I don't care what the fuck they telling you guys today. That mess that they're calling Dandy and the recreation of what they're calling Dandy is not what the fuck it is. And for black people, you got to be careful because you have European and you have American. And the American Dandy was nothing to smile at, and the connections. But how they're presenting it is all over the place. It's almost like the word narcissist. Narcissist is just a lazy word for other vocabulary or grammar words, or vocabulary words, we'll say, to explain. Narcissist, they're a narcissist. That's lazy. How come we just can't say arrogance, ego tripping, liar, deceiver, manipulative, con? So basically, they put different fashion frequencies under Dandy. And then I get people trying to explain shit. You can't explain nothing to me. Because I've been studying this shit for double-digit years, bitch. And nobody can tell me nothing. I know what I see. And why is that, what's his name, Coleman Domingo? Why would he be a co-chair? I went and looked up his alleged degree. It's in journalism. But I want to know, what has he done in the fashion industry? He's been in entertainment. But where in the fashion industry? I know too many people who could have been a chair to that. And I'm confused. When did he get married to a man? I thought he was married to a woman. When did that happen? Because I remember his son visited him at the hotel one time. And he's Belize. Technically. Did y'all see fucking Vera Wang? I said, is she the fuck? And that wig. I said, oh my gosh. Is she okay? She remind me of a homeless woman. I said, is she? Vera Wang is too classy to look like that. And I felt it was an insult. I think a lot of that mess that was going on, I think we have to ignore, but I figured that they're trying to put Diana Ross as a gatekeeper, but as old as she is, I don't understand what's going on here. So they up here trying to pull something. What's his name? Because her energy reminded me of somebody, and I'm just kind of looking for it. Because I'm like, Gene Hackman. There's something about her energy that seemed very Gene Hackman to me. Like there's like the energy is like when you hear the story, it's eerie. She looks eerie. It's like, is she dead? Do they wake her up and say, come on, Vera Wang, come on. It's another Met Gala. Because even when it's like, it has that energy like Gene Hackman's story. His death is eerie. They keep trying to say his house was cluttered. His house was not cluttered. Somebody ransacked it. It's like they was up in there. They been dead. When you just hear the shit that they were saying, they up there saying Gene Hackman starved to death. Huh? And there were pills. What the fuck is going on here? Dog dead, dogs alive, running. They just making up all type of shit. But if people look very closely, for them to say the house was cluttered and no, it wasn't. Because when you look at the rest of the house was clean. His room was ransacked. That whole thing is eerie. It is as eerie as Michael Jackson's room of, after his death. And the pictures look like they were from the 80s. Like this man, because they've been saying Michael Jackson been dead and da-da-da-da. But everything looked odd. When I look at her, she put me in a mind frame of the dead. And eerie. And I said, what is that? Vera Wang? Vera Wang is always put together. And did you guys notice, especially by, I guess, Rihanna, then she's having her 21st kid, And did you guys notice the supposed stylist? And I forgot that brand because it's like a Dolce. It's not a Dolce, but Dolce had it on. But I've seen it and more in high end, and it's kind of like that schoolboy and schoolgirl. Did you notice the white boy? I think with Rihanna, and then did you notice the Asian girl? But she didn't look Chinese. She looked like something else, and she had scissors and a measuring, and she was with Nicki Minaj. And I'm like, and I'm looking at Nicki Minaj. I said, is she in jail? I'm like, they're total. And then they had on these pinstripe. That's mafia, gangster, jail, prison. What's happening here? Stop playing with us with this shit. This has no artistic fashion frequency to it. I'm like, is Nicki Minaj, is she locked in a psych ward? And then did you see Taraji? Why are they trying to uproot her? And she had on them gold or whatever's going on with her teeth, them bling. What's going on? And then Hailey Vera, what's going on? And then Lizzo, what? And then what's her name? That Coco Jones. I'm like, are you a female? Because that chest is looking strong. Dolce, I would have thought better. That's what I'm talking about. And Kylie Jenner, she said, fuck you niggas, I'm turning white. Your best bet is a not. Then did you see Sierra? Man, we're not about to play with them because they about to torture us with these new breeds. Another energy of spell work. They was talking about this white woman. And it says, imagine losing your kids because the lab owner was faking your drug tests to come out positive for drugs, that's pure evil. She deserves that whole 15 years and more. So apparently this lab tech was up there playing games with people's drug testing, especially people who had CPS cases. And you telling me we are not in a dangerous society? And she's a white woman who did that. I've been seeing that a lot. I've been seeing a lot of white women doing that, and also Indian women fucking up lab results. Anyway, this is Weird Renegade Witches Blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.